America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody tonight. Thanks for being here. Hopefully spring is on its way.
In a couple of months.
The 95th day. Right. So, board members, make sure your mics are on so people can hear you when you're speaking. Roll call tonight. Everybody's present. Approval of the agenda. We do have an extra presentation tonight from the Salem District Library, and we'll have them, so we'll just add that to it on the presentations. And so all those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moving on down to our presentations, we have William Gilmore that's here tonight, and we're going to have them come up and do a presentation on a project, an Eagle Scout project that they're presenting to us tonight. So this time, come on up. There's a mic over here if you want to, or you can stand and face, whichever is easiest for you. I don't. Yeah. Okay, I can take that.
Share this with
Okay, while William is passing out the copies, I wanted to introduce myself. And William, first of all, this is William Gilmore, and he is an Eagle Scout candidate from Troop 1537 in Plymouth. We're over on Territorial by Sheldon. We're out of Plymouth's First United Methodist Church is our home organization. They're a sponsor. Again, I'm Mark Michael Isaac, and I'm a Salem Township resident. My wife and I live over on Brookville Road, just to the east of Salem Road. We've been residents for 21 years, and my wife and I are huge fans of the farm preserve. We absolutely love it. We love utilizing the facility, taking hikes, the nature watching, and it's been a dream of mine as a scout leader, which I've been for 14 years, to have an Eagle Scout project over at the Farm Preserve. And William is helping by making this dream come true. So we're going to have our troop out, if this is approved tonight, if the Mother's Day weekend, the Saturday of Mother's Day weekend, we're going to come out and bring a group of probably 40 or 50 scouts and bring a lot of muscle and enthusiasm and having a great time working on the farm preserve, assuming we get some approvals tonight. So William, I'm going to hand it over to you. Here you go. Well, let's walk through with what we're going to do in the project.
My proposals were, if I can add one of the additional welcome sign by the gateway of the park entrance from the right next to the trail towards the main trail, and also add paver stones to the pathway that's between the gate and the main trail, because there's like always gets muddy there. The second one was add 10 to 5 bird houses or bat houses, improved locations in the farm preserve. And the third one was to add, cut down overgrown vegetation that's been growing on the trails. And the fourth one was to add in two main areas, one by a tree that's far down the end of the road, one of the trails, and another one is at
In another field area, kind of, we're going to pick a spot. We'll work with Mr. Schaefer and Ms. Vision on a spot or a second location that is out of the way of any the farming areas, and making sure that it's a nice, comfortable spot for the citizens to be able to sit down and enjoy the beautiful nature.
and it's benches made of recycled plastic, weatherproof, and iron. And the metal is made of iron. iron something that's also weatherproofed, and it's gonna be bolted to the ground, and anchored with concrete that's gonna be buried underneath 24 inches underneath the frost level. And it's gonna be secured and it won't actually break apart if young teenagers go and try to break it, they can pass it.
So the thought of having it secured would be that, you know, if there were some over-energetic youth that are jumping on it or anything like that, that it's secured down so it's nice and stable and no one can hurt themselves. So the plan is to put in soffits. We'll put cement down into the, you know, below the frost line and have it secured down so so it can't be tipped over. Yeah, those are the key highlights. Again, Mr. Steve Schaefer is our township member who is going to help sponsor us and work with us. Steve is a member of the board, and we've been working with Susan and you know, the full board as far as making sure everything's approved and everything is safe. And we're really looking forward to coming out and doing a great general cleanup. Some of the other things would be to get out some of the debris that was left. There's some areas on the trails where there's old pieces of a rusty fence. We want to clear that out and get that over to the dump and just do a really nice general cleanup job to help the township.
Any questions from the council?
Well, I think you did a great job, William. I think this is exciting for us. I wasn't at the meeting with Sue and Steve, and they informed me about it, and it's exciting to see this venture taking place. So the only thing we need, as far as I know, is just some of the cost. We have all the costs?
Yes, every single cost, all of the costs have been covered. And also we have made extra money towards the project too, so we have actually more than we need. And we're gonna be donating that to the township for, to be early used on the farm reserve.
Thank you.
Yeah, so William overachieved on his fundraising. Good job.
Good deal.
So can we consider this approved?
I don't think we need an emotion on it. I think it's something you're excited about, and looking forward to have it done, so.
I think just we need to emphasize the day and time, so if anybody wants to come out and join in or just observe, we'll have a lot of work for us, but it's Saturday before Mother's Day weekend. I think that is 11th or 12th of May? 12th of May. We're going to gather around 8 o'clock on the 12th of May. We want to get a nice early start because we're going to take advantage of loading up some debris and get it over to the dump before the dump closes. So everyone's welcome. We're going to have some munchies, some refreshments, and the work crew will be rolling. So thank you for your time. We appreciate the support.
Good job, Mike.
Great job. Great.
Good work, William.
Okay. So now to our second presentation, we have Mr. Randy Clark here, the South Lyon School President, and his presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and fellow trustees. Randy Clark, 100307 Mile, and I am heading Salem Township, by the way. I'm here tonight representing the South Lyon School Board. I am president, and unlike William, who was very successful in bringing money to the township, I'm here asking for some financial support. So I'm a little humbled by his efforts. As I think you found outlined in the letter that was provided in your packet, the district has been struggling to provide extra security in our buildings. And as I outlined in the letter, this whole school year, we had a resource officer at South Lyon East, which, to the benefit of the South Lyon residents, that's where most of our teenagers go to high school. We've struggled to get some additional help from the city in providing a resource officer at the old high school. And we were able to reach an agreement with Salem Township to provide support through the remainder of the school year to get a sheriff's deputy into the high school on Pioneer Trail and 11 Mile. We're looking for additional support from some of our surrounding communities for next school year. Obviously, as if you're not aware, South Lyon is at the baseline funding level in Michigan. Unlike Northville and Novi that gets additional support, we are at the bottom rung of the ladder when it comes to per pupil funding from the state. So it's always a struggle for us, and we're obviously, like a lot of other communities right now, we're working on our budgets and looking for a little support, and that's why we're here asking tonight humbly if the township would be willing as a stopgap measure to provide some funding for next school year to us in support of our efforts to provide security in our high schools. And also we're going to attempt, if we can find the money, to put a resource officer down on the 9 Mile area and kind of alternate between the two middle schools. We found it to be very effective. We had resource officers over a decade ago, and obviously the Great Recession took that whole process away. So having put one in at East, we have found the value to be tremendous. They build relationships with the students. It's not just about having an armed officer in the building, it's about creating those relationships and the ability for the students to have somebody to talk to and to relate to. And it's amazing what happens between the students and that officer when that relationship develops. They see the same person on a daily basis. He's eating lunch with them, he's shooting baskets with them. It's that camaraderie that develops that allows those students to feel that this is a person they can trust. And so it's the little things from, hey, so-and-so's got some marijuana in their locker, to the potential social media threats. And I think you evidenced that in the news media with what we had earlier this school year with the young man from Green Elk. So we are going after some of this typical funding, just like I'm approaching you this evening. We're going to be going to Green Elk. Northfield Township on a much smaller scale, obviously, because there's so few students from that area. The city is in the midst of their budget determination right now, and we are approaching them for support also. So I'm here to answer any questions and see if there's any appetite on your side of the table to see if you could help us out in a short-term measure for the next school year.
So, Lyon Township now is contributing.
That is correct. They are paying half the cost, and the school district is paying half the cost. And as I outlined in the information, I don't know if it was included in your packet, but I did give the financial information. Each deputy for just the school year time costs about $111,000, because that includes all of their benefits, insurance, you know, them having a vehicle at the building, the additional training that they go through. So luckily, Lyon Township stepped up and helped us out to get us from the end of March to the end of the school year.
And did we, I think I talked to you, do we know anything as far as Northville or Plymouth?
Novi,
Districts?
Novi, Northville, Brighton, one of Canton. I was unable to confirm exactly how many resource officers they have because they're a campus of 3 high schools over there. I've had quite a few discussions with the undersheriff in Pontiac because this is obviously a hot topic for all of the districts in Michigan. And quite a few of the districts now, if they did not previously have resource officers in the middle schools, they're doing it now. And at Clarkston, Rochester, a lot of the districts are doing it. Because sometimes we're having equal number of problems at the middle schools as we do at the high schools. Usually they're a different type of problem. It's vaping, sexting, that sort of thing. But we have.
Okay, and you're asking 20,000
I am,
from Salem,
please.
20,000
For next school year, correct.
Randy, is this, will this be an ongoing request, or do you think there'll be?
Well, we're hoping the way things are going, the per pupil funding thing came out today. They're looking at $120 per pupil increase in our budget. We're under the 2X formula, so we'll actually get $240 because we're at the lowest funding level per pupil. And it's a significant increase, but when you look at our costs, to answer your question, well, hopefully, if we can get through the next year or two with some help from the communities, I'm hoping we're going to be on our own and we can handle it internally in our own budget. So it's not a forever thing.
Jen, you have a question?
Yes, I'm wondering, is this sheriff an Oakland County sheriff?
At both high schools, we have Oakland County Sheriff deputies, correct?
Is there a conflict there that we're in Washington?
Well, you have to remember that right now, we have 62 households in the township where there are students attending South Lane East. So, in essence, you would be helping protect our own kids. And I speak as a township president also.
Any other questions? Dale, you have one?
I was just gonna mention, is that divided up kind of on a per pupil basis, or is it?
Not really. I mean, it got so complex. I mean, we were able to figure easily the 62 households, and the principal at East was trying to figure out exactly how many kids came out of those houses. Some of them had just one, some of them had two. So, and it gets even more complicated because the boundaries for the middle schools are not the same as the high schools. So it's not like we have a feeder system.
Okay, yeah. Just
How many other school districts do we have in our township?
4.
Okay, if we do one, we have to do all 4, so.
Well, I'm asking them right now, the ones that already have. Northville has them already.
But you have to be even-handed, so if you have 20 times 4 is $80,000.
Now, the other districts that do encompass in Salem Township are a much higher state funding level than Suffolk.
Hey, Dan?
I just wondered how much South Lyon is contributing.
Well, that was part of the issue, is we had originally asked for them to fund half of the officer at the high school. And because of their budget constraints, they declined to do so last year. This year, we are going to ask them for a minimum of $25,000, and hopefully we'll get more than that. But that remains to be seen what happens in their budget process.
Are they contributing to part of East? Or is Lyon?
Well, right now, Lyon Township is the sharing the cost with the district in both high schools. Right now, the city is not contributing anything this year. We're looking at next year. We're pretty much covered for this year.
Okay.
There's only a tiny part at the very south end of the city. There's, I think, 2 neighborhoods that go to East. Everybody else goes to South Lyon High in the city.
And this deputy that's situated at East, did that just happen for this current school year? Is that when this was implemented?
He actually started in, I believe it was March of last year. So, like the last 2.5 months of last school year and this whole school year so far this year. And the guy is really good. He's gone through the state training school, which they have now in Lansing every summer for resource officers, where they're training them how to interact with the students, talk about security issues. We actually use that gentleman more than just a resource officer. He's become a consultant on our security team, and it really, Mr. Chairman, I'm telling you, I was skeptical about spending the money on a resource officer, because I'm pretty fiscally conservative, and I was reluctant to spend the money, because it's, for us, at least the cost of a teacher to put this guy in a building. But I have watched over the last year the benefits to having a resource officer in the building, and the interaction and the feedback, not just from the administration and the teachers, but the students themselves. It's amazing how they interact with the gentleman and how much safer they feel. And when you talk to these kids, they will tell you that.
That's true, I think I shared with you,
You
my
did?
granddaughter at the high school down in Florida was telling me how much safer she feels with that presence
Yeah,
there.
it
So,
is amazing. It truly is. And I know most of us, speaking, are older, and I don't think we've had to go to school and live in the environment that these kids are now. They're freaked out. They really, truly are. And it's, I don't be a skeptic because I'm older, my kids are out of school myself, but they truly are afraid. And this is something that really gives them a peace of mind.
When we were young, we had tornado drills and fire drills. Are there active shooter drills now?
Yes, there are. There are multiple. And we are in the process of changing to, I think you've seen it on the news, called the ALICE system, where rather than just a lockdown, now it's an evaluation on a wing-by-wing basis about whether to shelter and lock the doors and, pile the furniture in front of the classroom door, or do you evacuate? And it's based on exactly what's happening in the building. We had, I guess you'd call it an accidental tripping of our lockdown alarm about a month and a half ago at the high school. And it was even covered in the papers, but somebody, somehow or another, a technician, why there was a technician working on the alarm system during the day, I have no idea. It won't happen again. The system went off, and it truly was a test of our training, the programs we have in place. We had multiple police departments show up at the building. The students were in their buildings, or in their rooms, doors locked. I mean, we have undertaken millions of dollars of renovations on the buildings over the last 2 or 3 years with the last bond that we passed. And we've, secured the entrances further. We've got locks on the classroom doors that can be locked from the inside. In the old days, you had to lock the door from the outside with a key, so it didn't help, but it's all been changed. We've spent millions of putting security cameras in, training systems. We're doing everything we can.
any other questions? Okay, Randy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now the South Lyon Library. Janet?
Hello, everybody. My name's Janet Bernardino. I'm a Salem representative on the Board of Trustees of the Salem South Lyon Library.
And I'm Donna Olson. I'm the director of the Salem South Lyon District Library. And tonight your human easel, or Vanna White, whichever you prefer.
Some of you may know that we're planning a 2,855 square foot expansion of the children's wing to the library. The board has voted a cap on our spending at $1.2 million. We hope to break ground in the next couple of months. On February 5th, we submitted a preliminary site plan to the Salem Township Planning Commission. During that presentation, Carlisle Wortman prepared a report regarding our site plan, and they suggested on page 3 of their report that we consider creating a bike interceptor between the bike path on Pontiac Trail that goes to 8 Mile and the front door of the library. So we, at the March 26th board meeting, we discussed this suggestion. It also happened that our architect and construction manager was there. The construction manager, we asked him, what do you think this would cost? He said it'd be a minimum of $15,000. We asked the architect, can we do it? He said yes. Now we have some constraints about the property line.
Yes.
So it won't go right to the front door, but we've shown it here in the green space. And we're going to leave this site plan on the table here so that the board can look at it more closely, and anyone tonight who's in attendance can look at it more closely. And we'd like you to consider the pros and cons of this bike path connector, During the discussion at the board meeting, we saw the value of public safety, convenience, and expanding our outreach to other patrons for the library, which is part of our master plan. So if you have any comments about opportunities for how we can fund this $15,000, for example, the Friends of the Library have donated $19,000 plus that we're going to be using for interior furniture in the expansion. This would be something else that's an add-on. So it's not in the 1.2 now. And there may be things that are in the 1.2 that are going to get cut when we get down to the nitty-gritty. Because you know, when you go to dig that septic field, there may not be sand there. So that'll cost you $25K. So if you have any comments on this, think about it. We're not expecting any decisions tonight. Please contact me at jbernardino@ssldl.info. That's the email address for the library. It's on our website. Just go to Board of Trustees and it'll be there under my name. Thank you.
You can also come by and see me.
Thank you.
Do you have some questions now?
When you look at the plan, the trail runs, Pontiac Trail's up here. So the bike path would start at the connector and to follow the edge of the parking lot. So when you look at this, just take a look. And you'll see where, near the green, that's the green grass.
I do have a question.
Yes.
We're adding on to the library, but we can't find the fund to put a bypass in front of it for the, you talk about safety. That's the biggest safety issue you got with that library.
Yes, that is a Washtenaw County problem. It's a headache that the township and the library have with Washtenaw County. We're still working it.
Yeah.
We're negotiating.
Well, people can't even open up a fruit stand without putting in a bypass. And that library been there for years and hasn't got one, so it needs to be addressed.
Well, it's being addressed.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a quick one. What are you proposing for the surface for the bike path? Concrete or?
No, blacktop.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, down to public comment. Wayne?
Yes. Good evening, Board. I have a couple of questions to the Board regarding the Hamlet streetscape project. First question, do any of you either own property or have a financial interest in any property in the route of the Hamlet streetscape project or anywhere else in the Hamlet? That wasn't mentioned at the last meeting.
I own the building next to the store. I think a lot of people know that, so. Okay, anything else?
Yes. My second question. Could you please explain why you unanimously approved a motion to spend up to $500,000 of our money on the Hamlet streetscape project without first researching whether a grant may be available? Considering you just recently applied for and received a very substantial grant that will subsidize a developer's project, why weren't the residents of our community given the same considerations?
Okay, well, I can answer real quick, that we didn't apply for the grant for the $10 million, so none of us had anything to do with that. And then number two is that there are grants available, not for this beautification thing that we did look at after the question was asked last month, and we did look into it, and there isn't anything for that. But there could be some in the future. So this is kind of like the first phase up to the church where we talked about doing that beautification part of the hamlet. And then, so maybe there is. But again, Stantec, our engineers, also our planners, they do have, when grants come up, like the SAW grant came up, it cost us, what, to even start, it was not even guaranteed to get it.
$6,700.
Right. So, and then once you get the grant, it still doesn't mean that it's all paid for. But again, they provided, I did ask Carlisle Wortman if there were any grants, anything at all that, in the hamlet, and the answer was no. Okay, anybody else? Yes.
I'd just like to add for Ms. Beejan, I'm really sorry that the Eagle Scout didn't stay. Because as he was talking, I could see so many educational opportunities for those scouts as to where to locate those bluebird boxes, where to put the bat boxes, where to put the paths, and so forth. And I think it's a really great project. So if you want some specifics about that, call me.
All right.
Sure, 812. You know, and talk to Sue about that too. if you-
Yeah, he's come to two of our meetings and we've gone through a lot of information and helped him to focus on what he wanted to do and what was appropriate and how to do all the, we wanted the benches to be secured, and we've got locations and things like that, but for the actual locations of the bat and bird, we probably do need some help with where those are gonna be located, so I'll call you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, further clarification, you mentioned that the board did not apply for the grant for the infrastructure for the urban services district. I think you mentioned in the newsletter that it was $10 million, is that correct? Who did apply for that grant?
The developer did.
And what was the township's role in that grant?
Nothing. I was alerted, I think I mentioned to the public that I got a call from the Associated Press, and I didn't even know what they were talking about. I couldn't even comment, and I didn't know anything about it. So it was strictly done on their part. Yes, Dan?
In previous meetings, I think we went to great lengths explaining everything about that grant for Showstash, how it came about, what the township's position is and everything. So for the people that were at the meetings, I think they understand what that was all about.
And one other question, Wayne, I'd like to add, is we are saddled with the administration of that grant. And that is going to be very time-consuming and a very labor-intensive process that we're going to have to undertake and do. So it comes with problems, but there's going to be rewards, which I'll cover later as well. But we have to step up to help administrate it. Not help, we are having to administrate it.
That's what was sort of confusing, I guess, when I read that or heard that the township had to administer the money. So I assumed that the township was partly involved in the grant. Thanks for the clarification.
It's nice to think that we should get grant money to do everything. It's not free money, it's taxpayer money. This township has money. Mr. Converse has said in numerous meetings that you're encouraged annually to spend that down, that we have too much money. And it's time that this township start to invest that money, whether it's in the hamlet, it's in the roads, it's in land preservation. There are a lot of worthwhile things that money ought to be invested in. And I would encourage your board to continue to make those investments during the next few years. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll move down to, first of all, my daughter-in-law, Jen. Lovely lady back there, my daughter-in-law. She brought all the refreshments tonight, and my wife's still down in Florida, so Jen thinks she's a sweet gal. She's got 4 kids, and it's difficult putting it all together, so thanks, Jen, a lot. We sure appreciate it. Okay, so we're down to the consent agenda, Mr. Leslie.
All right, I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. We have last month's minutes, March 13th, of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We have disbursements for the month of March. Out of the general fund, we have checks for $132,896.96. That's checks 27,396 to 27,463. We had payroll of $62,619.75. Paycor, $197.61. Checks out of the sewer fund, $9,267.28. Checks 2034 and 2035. Checks out of the escrow fund, $2,151.50. Checks 1749 and 1750. We have invoices for the month of April. General fund, $101,227.53. Invoices for the sewer fund, $5,138. Escrow fund, $1,211. And the new MEDC fund, which is the infrastructure grant, we're going to track that. Invoices, $6,997.80. This is the first month of the new fiscal year, so we included our official newspaper of record, which is South Lyon Herald, and the alternate is the Ann Arbor News. The official depositories, which are the same as in past years, Comerica, JP Morgan Chase, and Michigan Class. And lastly, the official meeting dates for this next year are listed. So that is the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Reggie seconds. Any other discussions on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, down to business items. We have the annual Flag Day event, which hopefully it warms up, so things need to start greening up. So I move that Salem Township approve the resolution 2018-0410 as attached and grant the request of the Salem Community Events for utilizing the township complex at 9600 6 Mile and surrounding adjacent properties for the annual Flag Day scheduled June 2nd of this year, 2018. Setup for the events will begin on June 1st and clean up on June 4th. In addition to utilizing the wastewater treatment plant site located at 7700 Salem Road for the annual Flag Day celebration fireworks on June 2nd, 2018, with the rain date on June 9th. All necessary license and proofs have been provided. Also authorizing the supervisor to sign and issue the permit upon the approval of the township board. A second on this?
One second.
Any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, this is a great event for our community every year. We look forward to it and appreciate all those involved. So also before us tonight is the road closure of the street at Dickerson and 6 Mile Road, Pearl and South streets between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. This resolution is before us. So I will make the resolution on that. Any second on the road closure?
Support.
Mr. Trent supports. Any discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The road will be closed. Okay, that's stuff down. So now we're down to another resolution we have on the Washtenaw County Solid Waste Management Plan. Just to give you just a little bit of more insight. So the municipalities, there's 67% of the municipalities have passed it, I believe. There's 28 municipalities that need to adopt the resolution for the solid waste plan. Again, this is So let me just give you a little bit, I'll read this resolution. Resolution was made and adopted at a regular meeting of the Township Board of Salem Community, Washtenaw, State of Michigan, held in Township, April 10th, 2018, at 7 p.m. The following resolution was offered by me, and second by Dale Converse. Whereas Part 115 of the Natural Resources Environmental Protection Act, as enforced by the MDEQ, requires each Michigan county to have a solid waste management plan to ensure that solid waste generated in the county is collected and recovered, processed, and disposed of a 10-year period at facilities that comply with state laws and rules. Whereas pursuant to Michigan statute, the draft solid waste plan amendment was open and lengthy and robust public comment period held from April through October 2017. And whereas on December 6, 2017, the plan was formally approved by the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners and was presented to the 28 jurisdictions within Washtenaw County for their consideration and action and approval prior to submit to the MDEQ for final approval. And so now, it's hereby resolved that Salem Township supports the Washtenaw County Solid Waste Plan 2017 amendment and supports the plan by submitting to the MDEQ for final approval. This has been on our website for some time now for people who are interested to look at it. Also, one of the big issues back at this time, of course, was the expansion of the landfill that was being considered, but was taken off at the table, and we were, so that is in limbo. So that is not into this plan. Doesn't include an expansion of the landfill. So let's have a roll call vote on this.
Mr. Supervisor, could I ask a couple questions first? Kind of on a sidebar, I'm just wondering, with next month, usually there's a Salem cleanup day, and our landfill representatives assist with some supplemental compost and maybe dumpsters. I just wondered, is that going to take place again this year?
I asked the question this week. Joe, do you know if they called? I know the office called. I don't know if Bob's not here tonight, so I know it's sometime in May, usually before Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And so the office was supposed to.
Yeah, they'll have to answer that. I know we're gonna have the compost available, but I don't know that.
And in this process of the solid waste plan, I know the landfill made a proposal and then withdrew it to expand the landfill on the north side of 6 Mile. Is there, to what extent did the landfill, being that they're the only landfill site in Washtenaw County, provide any substance or recommendations on reducing solid waste, not only in our community, but within the county itself?
Well, in the plan, if you read in the plan, there's, they have dates kind of set as far as, like, you know, goals that reduce waste. And they are doing that overall by the Washtenaw County, that Evan Pratt's group, that kind of head that up as far as teaching and explaining to communities and municipalities about recycling and trying to eliminate and trying to be at no waste at some time. But that's what the goal is. I don't know how we're doing on the goal, but that's what the solid waste plan is, so that we don't need landfills. And this landfill here, and I don't remember, Joe, if you even have any figures, I can't remember off the top of my head, but what the capacity of landfills are. how much capacity around the area. If this one gets to its capacity, what are the rest of the
Yeah.
existing landfills?
Yeah, I think the upshot is that there's plenty of capacity
Right.
right now.
Right.
For what the town
Right.
is.
So again, you know, some people, again, and I get in trouble by talking more about it, you know, some people have, you know, came out really against the expansion of the landfill, and there are people that aren't against it, and so you have two sides of it, and then the problem comes in is what does happen after, you know, another 10 years comes up when Washtenaw needs more capacity.
I guess one of my other concerns is that I know there's a couple of times during the year that the county has these county cleanup days for hazardous waste. To what extent would Arbor Hills be willing to help facilitate some of that on a more local level for us? So that we don't have to have our citizens, that's really the northeast corner of the county, having to have our citizens travel 15 to 30 miles to find a hazardous waste disposal site.
There's a good thing to take back, Joe.
Well, if I can give you a quick answer here.
Please do.
We are in active discussion with Washtenaw County. This relates to our host agreement. People may not know that we have a hosting agreement with the county that dictates that at least $300,000 every year be used by the county for waste diversion and hazardous waste collection. Advanced Disposal takes part in their hazardous waste collection. Several of us were actually out there on Z Road this past Saturday for their opening, and we are in discussions with taking more types of materials over at Arbor Hills, so that actually our community advisory group is a good place to have that discussion, so we welcome you to come to those.
Dan?
You know, you're talking about expansion and everything, and I've heard some rumors, I don't know if they're true or not, that Arbor Hills Advanced Disposal is acquired a golf course or more in attempting to acquire some golf courses in surrounding areas. Is that true? Or?
I've not heard that rumor myself.
Okay, okay.
Tell me where you've heard it.
Okay, okay. I just, you know, it's a rumor going around.
We going golfing? Okay, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
If you can explain it.
Right.
Can you explain their whole rationale of calling a landfill an unauthorized disposal area, and then the whole process for changing a landfill from an unauthorized to an authorized?
What page is that on, TJ?
Page 5, under citing of landfills. And then they say throughout the document about it being an unauthorized. I just don't understand what they mean by that.
I can get you that information.
Okay.
That's on page 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we have the roll call vote.
Converse,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and Whitaker.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Converse.
I'm about ready to make a motion here, but the motion I'm going to make is not exactly what you have in your board packet, because I don't want to go through a lot of the amendments, but I move that the township approve the WEX, that's W-E-X, credit card for the use of approved fuel purchases by the Salem Township Fire Department.
I'll second that.
Okay. What this is, word of this came through an email, but the state of Michigan came out with a fleet credit card. And what it is that we can use it at any gas station we want, but we're typically will be using it at our own gas station. So what it is that we get 10 cents a gallon per, yeah, I should say 10 cents per gallon discount on all diesel fuel that we use, as well as 6 cents a gallon for all gasoline purchases for the regular vehicles that we have discount. And the beautiful thing about it is there's a 45-day window on it, and the present card that we have right now has 15 days on it. And in case of 2 months ago, little horror story, Uncle Sam lost our check. They still have not received it, and we pulled up to the gas station and no gas, it was shut off. We worked to get it, tried to get it around, they tried to do an ACH, we have ACH blocks on our account, and that was shut off again. So the fuel, so the fire department could not get fuel in their vehicles. And that's one of the things, I had to physically go down to the Chase Bank and wire the money to the fleet company in order to get this turned back on. And this one here gives us 45 days, we don't have to have the 15 days where you have to worry about the post office and mail gets there or not. And it's a much better deal, we get a discount on it. And this comes through a state-sponsored program, so it's the same program that we bought when we bought the Expedition and the truck. It's the same deal, so this is kind of thing coming through the state. And we're really encouraged about it, and what we will be doing is we'll be getting cards for every vehicle, and every firefighter will have its own PIN, and they have to give mileages when they take the vehicle in and get fuel. They have to put the mileages in there, they have to put their PIN number in there, and they have to get a credit card. So it is a very secure credit card, and it's very controlled. And we have written up, Jim has written up a usage document for administering this the fire department. So we're extremely excited to be able to have something that we can get a lot better service and get a discount in addition to that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Okay, down to planning and zoning. TJ.
I move that Salem Township approve the zoning land use petition to rezone 4.63 acres of land that includes 6 parcels from low-density residential to Hamlet Center District in accordance with Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, as recommended by the Salem Township Planning Commission on January 22nd, 2018, in order to amend the official zoning map of Salem Township. And a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, TJ, you might give a little history on this a little bit, or I think some of us are familiar with it, but the planning commission approved this a couple months ago.
Right, we had a public hearing to approve it.
And this is Macedonia, which is down Salem Road here, which should have been rezoned years ago.
It should have been zoned Hamlet Center District. And if you look on the zoning map here, it's just this little blip of yellow amidst the, green color of the Hamlet Center District. There were houses built in the early 2000s that really shouldn't have been built because low-density residential has 1 acre minimum. And these houses are built on 1/3 to 1/2 an acre, most of them. There's only 4 houses there. So someone had bought property and then found out in our office that they really can't build there because of the district. But it's really consistent with the Hamlet Center District. They have sewer, and that's something that is only supposed to be provided in the Hamlet Center District. So it's just to make it more consistent with what it really should have been to begin with.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we're moving right on down here. So we got treasurer's report, clerk, and we're down to the chief rifle.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We had 48 calls for service in the month of March. I just
just want to cover kind of a couple of the notable ones. We provided mutual aid to Superior Township for a structure fire, and so far, by the time we got there, they'd gotten the fire under control, so it was pretty much a ride and drive and wait and turn back around. We did have a serious rollover on M14. A vehicle rolled multiple times. We ended up cutting the occupant out. That brings to mind kind of the incident that our neighbors in Northfield Township just suffered over there on M14, or US 23, the wrong-way driver. So we've had obviously some serious incidents. I think Plymouth Township had one today over 275. So speeds are coming back as an issue, and winter's not leaving us, so we just ask that people buckle up, watch distracted driving. We again suffered a number of accidents in the township through that. And the last thing I want to cover is it's getting to be burning season because everybody wants to clean up. So the brush fires have already started. We've had some brush fires get out of control. We remind residents to please pull a permit, which is free. The big thing about pulling a permit, it gives us a couple of things. One, it reminds you what the rules are. Two, it also gives us a phone number, so if we need to call, we've got a point of contact. I would remind that you need to supervise that burn when it's burning. If it's not, we find that it's not, we'll have a discussion. And then secondly, please don't burn in high wind days. The state has got a website that right on Ann Arbor, they tell you what the threat conditions are. Right now we're in a high threat, super high, but with the dryness and the high winds, up north they're not allowing you to burn. So just be careful. Nobody wants to get their neighbors or their house burned down. So that's all we ask, is just follow the permit.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
You're
Okay, he's down. Yep.
Quick comment about election.
Okay.
Just a reminder to everyone, we do have an election in May, and it's an election just for Precinct 3, which is if you have Ann Arbor schools. If you are in the area with Ann Arbor schools, you will have a election. It'll be here in, actually it'll be in the firehouse area, but there's only going to be about 180 voters, so it's not probably very many of you, but and also a reminder, if anyone would like to learn how to be an election inspector, to be, it's a small paid position, you can help out with the team. There's like usually, as you know, 4 to 6 other people that help out in the bigger elections, and if you'd like to learn how to do that, you can come and talk to me or call me. We do have 2 big elections this year, August and November. We have the state primary and the state general election voting for our governor. So it'll be a couple big races this year.
And this election will be on the same night as our board meeting.
Yes, that is correct. So May 8th, we'll have our board meeting here, but we'll also be running the election out in the fire hall. Just for that hour or two.
Okay.
This is the normal precinct that goes to the elementary school?
Yes, normally it goes to the elementary school, but it's changing to the town hall. Everyone that's
We have a lot of signage for it.
Oh, yeah.
No.
All the postcards will be going out today for everyone who is a resident in the Ann Arbor schools to remind them that this change is occurring, and then we'll have signage.
Okay. Because the general public will not, they're hard to change.
As one other quick thing, we'll also be consolidating with Northfield Township. They helped me out about a year or two ago, so I'm helping them out. So we'll have about 150 voters from Northfield will be taking their voters and voting on our machines. So sometimes you got to do that. Neighbors. That's right.
Okay, under board discussion tonight, anyone, I don't know what to discuss. You got-
I got,
all right?
I got something I want to bring up. And I mentioned this earlier, that I'm kind of the appointed person for administering this Michigan Economic Development Grant. And the nice thing about it is there's a good positive. And I just wanted to apprise the board that last month we passed the budget. We're going to have to go back and revise that budget because we get to be able to keep the interest that $5 million generates. And as right now, is drawing at a rate of about $245 a day. And that adds up quickly. In other words, for the year, it probably, if it was to stay at the same five, it's going to be drawn down with the design costs coming in. But right now, I estimate that we're probably going to see revenue in the area of around $70,000. So we are going to be able to keep that money and use that for our go back into the general budget. So we will have to have a budget amendment.
All right.
Well, maybe you can get a raise now.
I just got it.
Okay. Okay, anything other? Nothing's really happened too much to bring up, unless anybody has any comments on anything. So we're down to public comment. Okay, no public comment. I do have a couple comments just about tonight. First of all, if anybody wants to buy that building across the street, think there's a conflict of interest, you're more than welcome. I'd be glad to sell it to you. Again, talk about the streetscape of the hamlet here. This thing has gone on for years, and I think everybody who's been involved on planning commissions before, and even the people who've been on planning commissions are now, have talked about improving this town. So it's not a matter of Mr. Whitaker owning a piece of property across the street. Like, I just want to make sure, I'm not saying that's what somebody was saying, I'm just saying, I want to make it perfectly clear, that's not the purpose here. I think we have, all have, as a community, have looked at our little town and said, you know what, it needs to be fixed up. And our planning commission has worked on it for a long time, and I know planning commissions in the past have, and that's just the way it is. And the second thing I want to say is that, you know, because if you're not at these meetings, Dan, you brought up a good point. You know, Linda Hamilton, thank God she tapes these meetings every month. They are right on our website. As soon as you click on, it's right there, you can watch. So there's never an excuse for residents not to know what's going on here in the township. We explain stuff. I mean, when you think about, like, somebody brought up about this grant money tonight, that we were somewhat involved in it. That's sad. That's really sad to think that somebody can go around with that idea and spread it around and tell whatever. That's wrong. And, you know, I can't force you to be here. I can't force you to look at the website. But you know what? The facts are the facts. And again, it's not a matter of liking this board or liking me or whatever. It's like, these are the facts. And you know what? I would love if somebody that made comments, it doesn't matter if you like me or not, call up and ask the question. My number, everybody has my number. There's never a reason for you to be in the dark about anything that goes on here. So I just would appreciate that. Other than that, I hope it gets warm. So we can get out and do some spring cleaning and stuff. So appreciate everyone being here tonight and have a great. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want us to all know what's going on. What's going on with the balloon in the corner?
Spilled beans.
What
was going on at the school that was all packed?
So, you know, I don't want anybody to, but I
Truth to heart.
Well, you just yelled at us all for.
No, I didn't.
I had to know what was going on, so I wanted to know.
So I don't want any of you to get sick. Some of you will when I tell you this, but So our communities, you know, South Lyon, Green Oak Township, Salem Township, whatever, has named your supervisor as the Citizen of the Year. So they brought it in here, so, I mean, they are sending me gifts, and hey, you wouldn't believe what's on my doorstep. But it was a nice gesture, and so we'll see what happens down, there's gonna be a dinner at the Novi Links and stuff, so we'll see what happens there. So I wasn't here when they came here, so, to present it, so. All right, thank you, folks. Thanks, Bonnie, for asking, so that's what it's about. So, good night, folks.
Your comments were really well taken.